Why 95% lose and 5% win. The real methods behind legendary traders. Let me tell you a story, a real one, about a guy named Ethan. He wasn't born into money, didn't go to some Ivy League school, didn't have a hedge fund background, just a regular guy. Grew up in Indiana, worked construction with his dad, laid bricks, hammered nails, came home exhausted. But every night, he'd sit at his old laptop, searching, reading, trying to figure out how people made money in the markets. Not just money, but big money. He wasn't chasing Lambos. He just wanted to stop sweating through his shirt under the hot Sunday. He wanted options, freedom, and slowly, he found something. Not in YouTube tutorials, not in Telegram signals, not in hype, but in the quiet interviews, in the biographies, in the letters and old speeches of the legends, the ones who actually made it. And he noticed a pattern. Every great trader had a method. Simple, clear, unemotional. It wasn't luck. It wasn't guessing. It was process. Repeatable process. And so, Ethan studied the methods. Let's start with the first one he learned. Trend following. The method used by guys like Richard Dennis, the turtle traders. They didn't predict. They reacted. When price broke out of a range they got in, they let it run. No top picking. No bottom guessing. Just price. And discipline. Ethan learned this. He coded a simple breakout system. 20-day highs. Risked 1%. Cut losers fast. Let winners ride. And he was shocked. Not because every trade won. Most didn't. But the winners were big. One trade could make up for 10 losers. It felt different. Safe. Almost boring. And that's when it clicked. Great trading is boring. It's not exciting. It's consistent. Systematic. Ethan didn't have to know where the market would go. He just had to ride what was going. Trend following gave him structure and peace. But that was just the start. He kept reading, kept digging, and came across a name. Paul Tudor Jones, the man who shorted the 1987 crash. What caught Ethan's eye wasn't the crash prediction. It was how Paul traded. He used technicals, but also macro themes, sentiment, positioning, and most of all, risk control. There's a quote Paul said that stuck with Ethan forever. Don't focus on making money. Focus on protecting what you have. Ethan started thinking differently. He realized all the greats had one thing in common. They survived. They didn't blow up. They didn't get greedy. They cut risk when things got uncertain. Paul Tudor Jones used 200-day moving averages to stay aligned with trends. But he also cut his position size aggressively during volatility. He knew when to press and when to back off. Ethan learned that too. He started using volatility filters, ATR-based stops, dynamic sizing. Trading became less stressful, more fluid. It wasn't about being right anymore. It was about playing defense. And ironically, that made his profits grow. Then came mean reversion. He discovered it through Larry Connors and hedge funds like Renaissance Technologies. While trend followers let price run, mean reverters waited for overreaction. They bought the panic, sold the euphoria. It was like breathing in the opposite direction of the crowd. Ethan loved the logic. Buy something oversold. Sell something overbought. He backtested simple setups. 2-period RSI under 10. Price pulling back to lower Bollinger Bands. And it worked. Not always, but enough. He learned to fade the crowd, to stay calm when others panicked, to enter quietly, and exit quickly. It wasn't glamorous, but it was consistent. Ethan built two systems. One for trend. One for mean reversion. Opposites. But they balanced each other. Like breathing in and out. Some days, he'd be short on a breakout. Other days, he'd be long on a dip. The market became a canvas, not a battlefield. But something was still missing, because every time he got emotional, he lost. Even with systems, even with plans. So he studied Jesse Livermore, the boy plunger, the man who made and lost fortunes. Livermore said, "It was never my thinking that made the big money. It was my sitting." Ethan understood. The best traders don't just act. They wait. They do nothing most of the time. And then they strike. Once. Hard. That was the final piece. Patience. He stopped overtrading. Stopped needing action. He waited. For his edge. For the setup. For the signal. And that changed everything. He also noticed something about all legendary traders. They had journals. Not for bragging, but for studying themselves. Ethan started writing every trade down. The setup. The why. The emotion. And he saw patterns. He performed worse after arguments. Worse when tired. Better on Mondays. Worse after winning streaks. So he adjusted. Traded less on emotional days. Took breaks. Protected himself from himself. That was when he became a real trader. Not just a guy pressing buttons, but someone who knew when to walk away. When to go in. When to rest. He started trading with self-awareness. Over time, his system got cleaner. His life got simpler. His emotions got quieter. And his account, well, it started growing. Slowly. Then faster. Not every month was green, but every year was. He wasn't chasing anymore. He wasn't trying to be a legend. He was just trying to trade like one. Process. Discipline. Risk control. Self-awareness. Patience. These weren't flashy, but they worked. And that's the truth the influencers don't tell you. The real methods, the ones that last, aren't about holy grails. They're about principles. And every legendary trader built their success on a few of them. Ride trends. Fade panic. Protect risk. Stay calm. Wait. Study yourself. Ethan did all that. He's still doing it. He doesn't brag. Doesn't show screenshots. Doesn't care about clout. He just trades. Quietly. Routinely. Like the legends taught him. And that's how real money is made. But Ethan didn't stop there. He knew the journey had just begun. Because once you figure out the methods, you realize they're only part of the puzzle. The rest? It's you. Your brain. Your habits. Your fears. Your greed. So Ethan went deeper. Into trading psychology. He read Mark Douglas. Trading in the Zone. A line hit him hard. You don't need to know what's going to happen next to make money. He paused. Read it again. Then once more. And finally it landed. All this time, he was trying to be certain. Trying to be right. Trying to predict. But the real game is probability. Is consistency. You don't win by being right. You win by managing risk when you're wrong. And pressing when you're right. That one concept changed how he saw the market. No more revenge trades. No more trying to make back losses fast. No more panic when a setup failed. It was just math. Just odds. And that gave him power. He also studied Ed Seykota, the mysterious systems trader. Seykota once said, "Win or lose, everybody gets what they want from the market." At first, Ethan didn't get it. Why would someone want to lose? Then it hit him. Subconsciously, we all act out our beliefs. If you believe you're not good enough, you'll sabotage your profits. If you believe success is scary, you'll cut your winners. If you crave drama, you'll overtrade. The market becomes a mirror, and Ethan saw his reflection. It wasn't pretty, but it was real. He started working on himself. Meditation, journaling, even therapy, not to fix his trades, to fix the trader. Because you bring your baggage to every chart, every click, every exit, and no method can save you if your mindset is broken. Over time, Ethan's trading became quiet, precise, minimal. He used 3 setups. That's it. Breakouts, pullbacks, mean reversion dips. He didn't care what the market should do. He only cared what it was doing. His rules were clear. Entry, stop, size, exit. He stopped tweaking every week, stopped chasing new indicators, stopped downloading PDFs from strangers online. He just traded his plan. And his results reflected that. Not moonshots, not $100 Kelvin in a day, but something more rare. Consistency, sanity, freedom. And that was everything he wanted. Sometimes people ask him now, "What's your strategy?" He smiles. It's not a secret. He'll tell you. But most people don't want to hear it. They want magic. They want instant riches. They want to skip the grind. But this isn't a game of skipping. It's a game of showing up. Every day. Of being disciplined when no one is watching. Of executing boring plans while others chase hype. Of knowing that the market owes you nothing. And that is why most traders fail. They don't lose to the market. They lose to themselves. Ethan doesn't feel superior. He's not perfect. He still loses trades. Still has bad days. But he shows up and follows his rules because he knows something now. Something few ever really understand. This game isn't about predicting the future. It's about surviving the present. And if you can do that, if you can stay in the game long enough, compounding does the rest. Not just money, but wisdom, clarity, confidence. That's what separates the legendary traders from the rest. So if you're starting out, or even if you've been at it for years, don't look for more indicators. Look inward. Don't copy trades. Study principles. Don't chase highs. Build process. Because in the end, the methods that work aren't magic. They're simple, repeatable, boring. And the only thing you need to add to them is you. The focused, disciplined, calm version of you. The one who respects risk, who doesn't panic, who executes without needing to be right. That version wins. Eventually. Just like Ethan.